Welcome everyone, Sharada Devi here. And we are at day 25 of our Ritualise Your Life Challenge. Today we're logging in earlier than usual. Tomorrow we go back to the same time that we have been so far. So today is dedicated to the ancestors. Yesterday we went through all the steps, all the 24 steps, and we've been practicing them. And so today let's dive right into step 25. Welcome Jasmine, welcome Ulla, and welcome all those that are going to watch the replay. Today I got some very beautiful feedback and appreciation. One woman said, "I never watch a live after, only yours." And the Ritualize Your Life Challenge is actually changing my life. So that is, what a gift to hear from me. And I've received so many beautiful comments and little messages. So thank you for all of those that have sent these words of appreciation. It means a lot to me. And I'm so happy to hear that this is so meaningful to you. So let's chant to Ganesha and Saraswati. The Ganesha is the remover of obstacles in the Vedic tradition. We always chant to Ganesha before anything. We begin to remove all the unseen obstacles, and to Saraswati, the goddess of knowledge, of words, to be with us, and for this initiation number 25 to be fruitful. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Om Gam Ganapataye Namaha. Aim Hrim Om Saraswatye Namaha. Aim Hrim Om Saraswatye Namaha. Aim Hrim Om Saraswatye Namaha. Om. So, hello Pat, hello Jam, Christine, Philippa. I remember Philippa. It's you, Philippa, that we met at Porangi, and we met at a being, and then you were also the one that wrote to me. It all clicked before. Hello. So 25 is the step dedicated to taking care of parents, elders, forefathers, ancestors. So we want to invoke the sacred in our elders. And in our culture, in the Western culture, we don't have the same value anymore for the elders. Like that value is still very much alive in the Vedic culture, like in India, in Bali. There's a deep reverence for the elder. You can really see the respect that the younger generation offers to the elder. One way that I spoke about that previously, one way is that the children come, and also the adult, if one is a child or adult, but is the child of the elder, they go and take the hand and touch the feet of the elder, and then with the hands, like we have been doing to Mother Earth, we place the hand on the feet, and then we receive their blessing, and we bless the forehead and our heart, and it's a sign, a mudra, a sign, a gesture of deep reverence, deep respect. And then the even deeper one is to actually bow, place the forehead on the feet, and to receive that blessing. I remember when I grew up, my cousin, her mother would also bless her in that way. It was not actually the child would go and it was she, my cousin. She would go and receive blessing, but she wouldn't put her forehead on my aunt's feet. But I remember my auntie would do this blessing. Actually, remember, she would put the cross on the forehead, and it's kind of a blessing where, like, my cousin would go and receive the blessing of her mother. I haven't seen that really in the Western culture. Maybe some of you have experienced something like that also. But in India, it's very common, in Bali as well, where I've been living for the last 16 years, where the younger generation go to ask for blessing from the elders. There's also the younger generation also always make sure that the elder have a place to sit and are taken care of, are taken care by the hand. There's this understanding that the elder, like, they have lived more years than we have, they have more experience, and so they're treated with deep respect. And when we follow the ashrama system of the Vedic tradition, which is the 4 stages of a human life, it's called the Varna ashrama system. It's basically, in the Vedic culture, one has these 4 stages of life. The first one is the brahmachari, where we are in the stage of being a student. Then the second is the grihastha, the householder. The third one is the vanaprastha, where we go into like hermit phase to begin to prepare for the last stage, the sannyasi, where one renounces from all worldly activities and then really prepares for the final moment, basically. And so then the elder, like the retirement plan for a Vedic person is to become a sannyasi. Doesn't mean we don't have to take formal renunciation from the world, but there's an internal preparation that takes place. I prepare myself with the help of the Veda, with the help of the body of knowledge that is here to help the person let go of this body, basically. Like, inevitably, we come to that time in our life, sooner or later, where we get to let go of this body. And so then the retirement plan is to actually prepare oneself and really study the scripture, with the help of the body of knowledge, what is my essential nature? So inquiring into the nature of the self, which according to the Veda is that the self is actually free from death. Welcome, everyone. We started 1 hour earlier today, only for today. Tomorrow we go back to our normal schedule. So the Veda says that our essential nature, your essential nature, everyone's essential nature is in reality free from birth and free from death. So in other words, is timeless, ageless. And so that is profound wisdom to have. Like, nobody really knows that. And if we have this kind of knowledge, this kind of wisdom, we'll really look at this person as a wise person. We call it a pandita, or a dhiraha, or a jnani in Sanskrit. It's a wise person who knows what their essential nature is. And so then that person is actually very deeply revered, because this person has something meaningful and purposeful and very important to share with us, with the younger generation. Because if we look at the stages of life, usually we would be more inclined to study this, like we would study the nature of the self from whenever we are ready to study it. But if we look at the 4 stages of life, one is in the student phase, brahmachari, and really learns about values, what is valuable in life, what is dharma, what are universal values, how to perform rituals, what is really security, what is happiness, what are relationships here for, how to be in harmony with nature, how to schedule one's time and be in harmony with time, and how to be in harmony with all beings. That's all, basically, all of that we study, or one studies as a brahmachari, as a student in the first phase of one's life. And then in the second phase, one would apply all of this. Like, one would get married and would have a house and children and maybe a business, and really apply what we have learned in the student phase. And there's a lot of engagement. Like, when we're, like most of us here, we're still married or just married or divorced, but have children and still like living in the world and working, making money. And so there's a lot of time that goes into cleaning the house, in taking care of the children, driving around the children, right? Driving the children to ballet classes and to ice hockey classes and picking them up from football. Like, so much time is in vyavahara, we call it. Vyavahara means in the transactional world. And you don't have so much time to really sit down and study. I mean, that's important to carve time out, like many of you have been doing, like carving this time out to spend some time to study and be with these deep questions of life and ritualizing our life. And yeah, we have maybe a half an hour, maybe 2 hours of study. But I know for many that are really like husband, wife, working, have a business, have children, get to cook, get to clean. You don't have the Balinese Pembantu. Pembantu is one that helps you take care of the house, which really makes life so much easier. I wish for every woman and man and family to have Pembantus. They're incredible. That really help. They become part of the family, and you take care of the family together. And when we were living in nuclear family system, like you would have the grandmother around and the cousins around, and like me, I'm half Filipina, and my grandmother had. Are you sitting? My grandmother had 15 children. Like imagine 15 children. My father was the 15th, so I'm quite blessed that I'm actually here. He's the 15th and the last of 15 children, and then he had me, basically. And I used to go to the Philippines every year, and there were so many people, always. Like there still are. It's a huge family. It's not like where the family consists of 4 people, or 2 people, or 5 people, or no, there's like 40, 50, 60, 70 people, all there living in the same compound. And so you have the aunts and the uncles and the big cousins and the small cousins, and everyone kind of takes care of the children. And so the responsibility is shared, and especially the grandmother, grandfather, they are really there with the children. Like we would spend so much time with the grandmother, my grandmother, Lola and Lolo, and they are so at ease. There was not much stress there anymore. And so also in Bali, you see often the children actually hang out with the grandparents, and the grandparents live with the children, with their family. And so that's not really the case in most of our Western families. Like you're alone, you have to take care, you get to. At the end, it's everything a privilege. So I like to say we get to, instead of we have to do things. So we get to take care of all of it a lot by ourselves. And so there's not so much time to really spend in the nature of the self being limitless, and seeing how the limitless in reality is not a doer, not an enjoyer, has no responsibility. In other words, is useless. No, like you gotta cook and clean and be there. So, and really apply everything you've learned in that student phase, which, like in the Vedic tradition, you would actually learn things that are very helpful as a grahasta. Like you would learn about values, you would learn how to be at the altar, you would learn mantras so that you can express your emotions. You learn that we are contributors and not competitors. So they're actually, in the Vedic studies, you learn very important things that are useful, that you can apply. In our Western culture, many things we have learned in school have not been very useful, and it's been very competitive, and who is the best in school, who has the best grades, and nobody talks about emotional management or what to do when you're angry. No, we just suppress it. And so as we have had that upbringing, like then when after the householder phase, then the retirement plan in our Western tradition is what? You go to the ancianato, you go to the Altersheim, to the place where old people live. And like my grandmother, my other grandmother from my mother's side, she's Swiss. She got to go at the end of her life to the old folks' place. And basically all the savings that her husband had, it went all into paying this place for the elderly people. In Switzerland, the place for elderly people is really, really expensive. It can be up to 2,000 euros a month. It's crazy. Like so many people, like in Switzerland, they work their whole life and actually just to save so that they have a place to be when they're old. and then pay for that. I know in Sweden it's not that expensive, thanks goddess. I don't know in other countries, but basically that's the retirement plan. Like, I'm gonna go to that old folks place, and then like I gotta pay for all of that, and often these old folks places are quite depressive. Like, it's not so inspiring to go there. I remember when I went to visit my grandmother, like many of them were depressed and a little bit angry, frustrated that they ended up there. And so naturally then it's very difficult to have respect for the elderly people, because they're grumpy, they are frustrated, they're complaining. Like, you're coming and then they tell you, well, now you're come and you haven't come for 2 weeks, and so then it's very difficult to have respect for the elderly people. But in the Vedic tradition, where like we have a proper education of values, rituals, and then you are actually a contributor, and you know that life is not here to make you happy, and that it's your duty to actually contribute and discover the wholeness and happiness of your own nature. And then you prepare to becoming a wise elder. A wise elder is called a vridha. Then, of course, we're going to have respect of the elders, because I can, as a young person or younger generation, I can go to the elders that are then in their vanaprastha phase, the third phase, or in the sannyasi phase where they're living more a renunciate life. I can go to them, I can seek support. Like, you go there and they're actually happy. Like, I have so many wise elderly people in my life. I have so many wise elders in my life. I'm so profoundly blessed. I have Swamiji and Radhaji and Oshiji I met, and like women and men that are full of joy and sparkles. Marjorie, an elder, that she was just at the retreat that I hosted with my teacher. There were a few elders, there were like 5, 6 elders in the age of 80 and 90, and they were full of joy, full of love, full of like, they were really present, and then it's so easy to have respect, right, for the elders, because they also treat you with respect, they're interested. And so it's so wonderful to have wise elderly people around. And then it's so much easier to really respect them and show our reverence. And so basically, like in a nutshell, this is the Vaidika way of living. So there's a healthy myth of being a human, being a student, learning what is valuable, becoming a contributor, having a family, growing out of our binding desires, growing out of our insecurities, and then slowly simplifying our life so that we can prepare ourselves for death, and not actually be afraid of death, but actually have a death celebration. Like, wouldn't that be amazing to have a death celebration, that when you die, people around you die, that you don't have to now be in grief or sorrow. No, it can be like, wow, you can celebrate their lives. And of course you're going to have feelings, and you can cry, we can cry, but it's tears of gratitude, right? Instead of this deep sense that I lost something now. In the Vedic tradition, we say that when somebody passes, all their accumulated wealth, the wise people, those that are wise people, all their accumulated spiritual wealth, it goes to the people who love them. And so you actually gain so much when they pass. Like, you gain their huge blessing, and everything that they couldn't enjoy, it comes to you, and you're celebrating that life instead of grieving over it. But we can only do that when we have knowledge and understanding. Then we know how to invoke and tap into that quality or into those feelings that this person invoked in me, how I can invoke that in myself. We're not really crying for the loss of the person, really. And this sounds maybe very strong or radical or bold, but the truth is, we're not really crying over the person. We're crying over the feelings that I think I have lost now, like the emotions, what they invoked in me. In other words, the pleased self. So it's that part in me that I'm grieving over, like this persona that I have created through that relationship with that person. We looked a little bit deeper into that when we were in the initiation number 19, in initiation number 19, mutual honor, win-win situation, and seeing all relationships as God Goddess. There I spoke about how each person, how each relationships creates my ego, and through that I establish a healthy ego. If I have healthy relationships, that's why it's very important that you have healthy relationships. If you're in toxic relationships, they are here to teach you a lesson, and then to get out of the toxic relationships, because in the long run it can be dangerous, even life-threatening. So it is an art to have healthy relationships, no doubt. It's been 20 years of my journey to know how to have healthy relationships, not only with a significant other, but also with other people around us that we are engaging, that I can really engage in a loving, mature, kind, supportive way. And so the Nectar View, my immersion in October, is all about that, healthy relationships with ourselves first, so that I can have healthy, empowering, inspiring and liberating relationship with other beings. And so here now in this step number 25, so when somebody dies, so we're not grieving really the person, we're grieving the loss of the persona or that role or that ego that has been created in me through relating to this person. Yeah. So that's a very big one to assimilate. Sit with that, see if it resonates, if it sounds true for you. It's the Vedic teachings are most profound teaching. It really goes into the depths of these nuances and really helps us see the dynamic of relationships, and especially birth and death. So we all universally celebrate birth. Like nobody sends condolence cards when you give birth. Everyone is happy. But we all have universally taken death to be a source of sorrow. We don't even question it until we do. Is death really a source of sorrow? And the Veda says no. Like there is no sorrow in death, actually. Sorrow is there because of wrong thinking. It's a big one. Sorrow is there because of wrong thinking, because of not seeing things for what they are. Basically not seeing that everything in this universe is time-bound. It comes into existence, it goes out of existence. It is by nature. That includes every person, every relationship is limited. It will come to an end. Right? So then in that relationship, I grow, I learn how to mature in the relationship so that I'm not totally dependent on this relationship. There's, of course, a relative dependency, but my process is also as a human being, and especially if I want to grow spiritually, there's this active participation and alertness to see where have I projected my wholeness onto this person, where am I dependent on this person for my well-being. And then I can now, step by step, grow out of that and reclaim my independency. And so the Veda says that everything in this awareness is time-bound. So it has never ever the possibility, it has never the capacity to make you happy or whole or secure. Number one. Number two, that which was never born, which is the true self, yourself, it can never die. The true self, your true self, it was never born. It means it will never die. And so that means that yourself is also not a reason for sorrow. So not anything in this universe that is time-bound is a source for sorrow, nor you are a source for sorrow. Wow, like it blows your mind. And then the question is, but then what is the source of sorrow? Like, because I'm experiencing sorrow, like we're in deep pain when this person dies. Oh my God, this elderly person that is now old, like you see your grandmother, you see your grandfather, you see your mother, you see your father aging, and they are all over the place. Like now, like the mother, the father, like they're starting to hide their gray hair, or you start to hide your gray hair, and you're hiding your wrinkles, and you don't want to say your age. Like I heard just recently that in Argentina, you never say the age. You just don't ask a woman for the age. So we all are going to face old age, and I better face it sooner than later, because it's going to come sooner than later, and especially death. Like if I never deal with the topic of death, and then it comes, it's going to be tsunami of emotions. Right? Like for me, I had to face death when I was 8 years old, because my dad passed away when I was 8 years old. And so that was a huge shock for me, and naturally led me on my spiritual journey. I always had the question from then onward, like, what is death? And did he really die? Because I never felt that he really died. I didn't feel that he wasn't here anymore. I actually established a very deep relationship with him when I was a little girl, and I would speak to him, and I just by myself, I wouldn't tell anyone. I wouldn't tell my mom or dad or anyone. I couldn't tell them, but I would have my own relationship with my dad, and I didn't feel he really died. So that's why I never really cried when when I heard about that he died. I didn't cry. I was just like, okay, now I'm an adult. Like now I got to take care of myself. And so like, there was something that happened, and I became a very strong person, warrior kind of type. And then for many years that helped me to survive. And then at one point that had to, of course, fall into pieces. And I got to also meet that girl that was so scared and so sad that her dad died. But in the moment, I didn't experience that death, because I really, maybe from past life, knew that he didn't really die. I could still communicate with him. And it was also so healing that when I came to my teacher and I told him about that, and then he told me that put your dad on your altar. I put a photo on your altar and speak to him every day. Like tell him, continue a relationship. It was such a validation for what I had done anyway, but I didn't speak to anyone about it because, it felt weird. But then when I talked to my teacher about it, and he just was validating that, yes, that's what you do in the Vedic tradition. When a person dies, you don't just stop the relationship with this person. You take the photo of this person and then you make an altar out of it. And now this person has become an ancestor, has become a pitr. Pitr means an ancestor, has become a forefather. And now you will continue the relationship with this person. So now you can continue the relationship with God, Goddess, the sacred, in the form of this person, this being who now we say is also Ishvara, is also God, Goddess. And then you continue the relationship so that your psyche basically can still experience this relationship, can still cultivate, and then eventually grow out of that particular relationship. Like whatever this person has given to you, whatever this person has mirrored in you. Like for me, he died when I was 8. And so kind of a part of me stayed like an 8-year-old girl, part of my psyche. And then once I started to do what I'm doing now and everything I share, a lot what I share with you, and then I put him on the altar, and then I kind of made up for all these years that I didn't have with him. Like I would continue this relationship, and I would continue hearing him speak, and I would speak to him and see him come to graduation and see him come and meet my boyfriend, and like all the things that we naturally want to experience as a child. in my case, as a child, I was a child. But if you would be like a husband or a wife, and you lost your husband or wife, or like in the case which we never ever want to experience, but it can happen, is if you would lose your child, which is the most painful experience, of course. It's excruciatingly painful, but I have seen people who have lost their child and have spiritualized their life so profoundly, and through the Vedic teachings and through the altar and through continuing this relationship with the child, they were actually able to heal. They were actually able to function again as a human. Like for some time, you can't function if your child dies. Something happens to your psyche. It's so painful. It so goes against the natural law of nature. But then we also got to understand that there is a possibility, because there is a body, and the body is subject to disease, and there's karma involved. And based on past karma, the child then had to exhaust that karma, and that child got only those years to live. And actually the karma that really is playing out is the karma of the parents. And so basically all the teachings and like the continuation of this relationship is so crucial for then the healing of the psyche, the growing out, the making up, for the ego to heal, to establish itself again in a healthy way. And then slowly you can shift from that human relationship to God relationship. And that's why in the Vedic tradition we emphasize the God-Goddess relationship so profoundly, because we know that it's the only relationship that will not fail. Like every human relationship, it will fail eventually, just by nature, because the body is limited, the body will die. And so we're establishing this relationship with God-Goddess because that's the one that will not fail. And then when all the emotions and all the pain comes due to losing this person, I have a place to dissolve this pain. I have a place to be understood. I have a place to now establish another identity, actually my real identity. Yeah, and the real identity is that yourself is the self of all beings. In reality, the identity that we have, is a limited identity. It's based on our relationships of mother, father, husband, wife, white, black person, etc. That's the identity we have established. It's a wrong identity, but we hold on with our dear life to this identity because it's better to have a wrong identity than no identity. And so you can only let go of this wrong identity slowly, eventually, when you start to see your real identity. And your real identity is that you are a limitless, timeless, non-dual being. That's your real identity. And that you get to recognize and see for yourself. No one else can make you see that, only you. So the elderly people, they would actually, in a Vedic culture, in the Vedic myth, they would have this knowledge. They would have some knowledge or inclination, understanding of that. They would be spending now time with this, with themselves in reality, with their real identity. And so then you can go and seek wise counsel. And then there's respect and reverence for the elders. And so, seek wise counsel. Seek wise counsel. There are elders that have profound knowledge, not only in the Vedic tradition, but the shamanic tradition. There are still many incredible wise elders out there that still have very important knowledge and wisdom to share. Also, in the Western culture, also those that still know about the land and the Celtic tradition, the pagan tradition, there are elders that still have this knowledge. It's hard to find, but it's still there. So, and then you get to remember that you also have, you also have a whole lineage behind you, your ancestors. somewhere in the line, you yourself, you already have had access to this important knowledge and wisdom. That's why you're here, that's why you're listening, that's why you're picking up again the thread where you left off. Like this knowledge, this wisdom, it's all there, and it's in your lineage as well. So then through this step 25, we're also invoking the wisdom of our ancestors. Right? We're invoking for that wisdom to come to us. So to settle account, settle account means neutralize all your judgments with being a Swiss person or a German person or a Swedish person or an American person or African person, whatever your roots are. You gotta find the jewels of your roots, like get to know your ancestors. What are the features of your ancestors, like the way you look, and instead of judging the way you look and your eyes and your hair and your bones structure or your body that is bigger than another person, like we're all judging ourselves in every possible way instead of seeing the profound beauty in every single human. Like we all have our ancestor line, and the Sami people have their bodies, and then the black people have their beautiful, most gorgeous bodies, and then the Eastern people and the Asian people, like, and the Aborigine in Australia and the Hawaiian. Like when we actually see, when we stop looking through the glasses of judgments and the glasses of the model Vogue catalog and through the glasses of the soap opera, like when you take away all these glasses and you actually look through the glass of the vision of wholeness, the vision of truth, then you see, like you only see beauty. It brings you to tears because it's so profoundly beautiful, mesmerizing. Like each person, like you see the features and the colors and the bone structure and the hair. It's all unique and it's all so beautiful. So, like with this step 25, with neutralize, honoring the elders, the forefathers, taking care of parents, etc., if we can, to the extent we can. Like we are also calling in those forces. You can call in the forces, the lineage, the wisdom that is there in your lineage, and really drink from that nectar that is there in your lineage. See the beauty in your lineage, see the beauty in your culture, the beauty in your race, right? And then settle account, Ishwarize, ritualize, sanctify your features, your body, your temple, which we have been doing now all these days, because only if you do that, really, you can go to the limitless self. Like as long as you're rejecting any part of your body, any part of your hair, if you're rejecting your skin color, your gender, your gender very much. Like now, so many beings are rejecting their gender. Like you're still rejecting God, Goddess, the sacred. And so that's why we're ritualizing our lives through ritualizing every step, including this body, to see the sacred in it so that you can go towards and abide in the limitless nature that is you. So we want to be proud of being Swiss and being proud of being German and being proud of being Dutch and Italian and Indian and from Africa. You want to be proud of that. Like, yes, there are so many shadows in each culture, and there's so many shadows in each race and in each country. Like Swiss, oh my God, if I would start, right? So many shadows. Like it seems to be this country that is neutral and helps everyone, and the Red Cross and the amazing, charity, etc. But what's going on underneath? Like there's so many shadows to the Swiss people and so many shadows to the all kind of people. But there are also so many beautiful sides, like so many aspects that are really valuable. And so we want to find the jewel, we want to find what is really valuable, and then my teacher would say you leave the cow pie. Like, yes, we're not in denial of the shadow, we own it. I have my shadow, very important. We're not in denial of it, but we also don't then get over-identified with it and then stay for eternity in the pain body and in the shame, right? If you're German, and then you will for eternity identify with the Holocaust, and you're not getting out of this karmic cycle, right? It's for you to feel whatever pain you need to feel in regard to that story, but then you let it go, right? And for that, we got to see the big picture. We get to understand human psychology. We get to understand the cyclical nature of this universe. We get to understand the fundamental cause, the fundamental problem of all human suffering. We got to understand the nature of death. And in that understanding, there is freedom. In that understanding, you will be celebrating your own death. Right? I made very clear imagination how I would like my death to be, and where I would like it to be, and what I would like other people to feel. These are the kind of things we do in the Diamond. I just officially launched my Diamond program, which is a Mistress Mind mentorship program where you have close proximity, contact with me 4 times a week, and Telegram support, and then we have 4 live calls per month where we go through a deep mentorship and embodiment program and legacy refinement, so that you can polish the diamond that you are and really leave your sacred legacy in this world. And there we do this kind of very deep rituals where we see our own death and like really envision what we want for ourselves, and then take the actions towards it, like so that our old myth with which we grew up as Westerns, most of us, and even those that are not Westerns and you grew up in India or grew up in somewhere in the world, like we still all have also this unhealthy myth with us and have been so much influenced by Western culture. Even Eastern culture has been so much influenced by Western unhealthy culture. So we have a lot to refine, let go, move through, like the fear of really standing in our power and the fear of abusing our own power. These kind of things, they really limit us in really embracing our power and actually feel joy in using our power and not feel guilty for that or ashamed for that. And so for that we do very strong rituals which are very powerful, because like death is one of that rite of passage. Like it's the last samskara, we call it, the last rite of passage of a human being, and it's very important to prepare for it. And the more we are in touch with death here and now, the more alive we are every single day. Like that's why at the very beginning of our Ritualize Your Life challenge, I told you my teacher would say every night before going to bed, like, if we wake up tomorrow, we'll meet each other again. Like, and that samskara in me, I have had this with me for 15 years now. It's like, okay, if we wake up, like every night, I know there's a possibility that we're not going to wake up tomorrow. Like, I'm in touch with death. It naturally helps me to appreciate life so much more and not take for granted today. I don't know if I'm going to see you today. Like, and what I say today, and it might be the last time I speak to you. Like, and I want to say something that I will not regret. Right? If you wouldn't wake up tomorrow, I would never forgive myself if you would say this, right? But the truth is, we can't forgive ourselves for anything we have done. We must, because we do the best we can. Sometimes we mess up, and that's okay. So, like death, get in touch with death, get in touch with elders, look at elders, see the beauty in wrinkles, see the beauty in gray hair, see the beauty in an old body. Like, what can you do to light up like the life of an elder? By maybe smiling at them, by making them a compliment. Like, it gives them so much, even though you don't have respect for the elders. I know all of you have respect for the elders, but like we miss it, like, because like saying, like, one of my grandmothers, she's still alive, and she's all grumpy now, and every time we come, it's like something is not right, and it's not inspiring at all to go and visit her, but she's an elder. Like, so what is my ritual here? I love you as you are, Grandma, right? I know you're in pain. I know you're frustrated that you can't walk anymore. I know your body's hurting. I know your bladder is like annoying you and you have to go to the toilet all the time. Like, I know, so I can have this compassion, and I can say a prayer in my heart for her. And so I can do that. And then if she pushes my button, right, I go, namaha, 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 like we saw in ritual number 21, namaha, namaha. I can't change my grandmother. She is gravity. So I'm going to face whatever she brings up in me. And then that's also honoring the elder. So I'm not acting out on her. Or you can sit on your altar and maybe put the photo of your father or mother if they passed away. We wouldn't put the photo of a person that still is alive on the altar, basically. Because that person that is alive, like, they are Ishvara or God, goddess from the nature, from the standpoint of themselves, but they don't know themselves as that. And so they're still acting out as a human being. Right? And so in the Vedic tradition, we only put people on the altar that are still, that have passed away. And so that's a wonderful way to honor the ancestor. Put your grandmother, grandfather, make a special ancestor altar in your house, and like connecting to your ancestry roots, invoking the strength of your ancestor, your Vikingness, your Portugueseness, like the value, the beauty of it, honoring, like offering flowers for the shadow side, because we all have shadow side in that ancestry lineage. So by doing a ritual, by saying the mantra we're going to learn now, you're neutralizing that ancestry line and that aspect that is unhealthy, or the shadow side, or all that our ancestors have done. And our ancestors, we are ancestors also, right? Actually, so we're neutralizing that through at the altar, and then like invoke elderly, wise elderly to come into your life. Like say to the universe, like, I want to meet wise elderly people to whom I can look up to from whom I can learn something. Like, that was my prayer last year, my birthday, and my 40th birthday. And I said, like, I want to meet lots and lots of people that are older than me and that I feel inspired by, so that I can look forward to getting old. Like, I really, literally, I'm so like, happy to get old. Because the people I know that are old, most of them, except my grandmother, bless my grandmother, but like my teachers and some of my mentors and even some of my students, they're so amazing old people. And I want to be like that, and they're joyful, and it's so wonderful to be around them, and they're not alone. Like my teachers, they don't sit alone in their home and nobody comes and visits them. No, they have students all around them all the time, right? And so becoming old doesn't mean has to be scary or as a curse in any way. It's a blessing. It's a blessing. Death, it's a blessing, right? Whatever dies, something new will be born. Right? So if you feel now things of yours, of you, parts of you are dying, like the old parts of you, old habits, relationships are dying, things are falling apart in your life, it might be a very good sign, like that things are shifting, something new is coming. And so, like, ritualize the gray hair, ritualize the wrinkles, ritualize when the body is in pain, like as we get older, there is some back pain, there is some knee pain. It's okay. It's okay. Just embrace it with joy. Okay, wow. Having a knee or being a human, it means I have a knee. Like if you have a knee pain, it simply says that you have a knee. You've been given a knee, and the knee can hurt. And then you can help the knee to be in less pain. It's not that you're just going to, like I see that with my dad, then he does not take care really of his body because he doesn't want to, like, oh, no, I'm not going to, take care of this. The old generation, oh, they're not going to pay overly attention to this pain. So, like, but that's kind of the way of being a little bit in denial or not caring for oneself. Like, so when I say, or the Vedas said, like, be aware and objective towards the old age and the pain that it can all be there. Yes, to not overly identify with it and go into a loophole and be in deep depression and scared of death. No, you take care of it, like, and you do help the knee with oil and proper exercise, and also maybe see, is there something an emotion that is related to my knee? Often emotions are stuck in the body, and then you experience it as a pain in your body. So you're not bypassing, we're not wanting to kind of go in and drain in the pain. So you want to see the body, it will age, it will die. We prepare ourselves for it, and prepare means we do what we can to support the process, right? To understand it, to support it, and to take it with, okay, this is what it means to have a body. I'm in awe of this human embodiment. Like, what a wonder it is. So, and then in that way of our elders and ancestors and all. So here, it's the day, ritual 25, taking care of our parents, elders, forefathers, ancestors. Here I put ancestors, but it includes the elders, forefathers, parents, like honoring our parents. Without our ancestors, without our grandparents, without our parents, you and I, we would not be here. Yeah, we would not be here. Oh yes, Philippa, so many deaths and rebirths in the diamond. So many. So many, yeah. So if you want to be in a closed container with me, check out the diamond or send me a direct message to look. I can send you the information. It's a very special container. We'll start end of August. So here I invoke the sacred in all the elderly people, in my ancestors, in my forefathers. And then you add your additional prayer. I'm invoking the blessing of them. I'm invoking the strength. I'm here to neutralize the shadow sides. I'm here to empower the elders and help them to feel empowered again. I seek elders that have wise counsel to share. Yeah, so that I can joyfully, gracefully embrace my old age, so that I can die in dignity. Anayasena maranam vinadainyena jivitam dehi me kripaya shambho tvai bhaktim achanchalam. This is a very beautiful mantra where we say to the universe, like, may I die in dignity. May all beings die in dignity. But that's not the mantra we're learning today. This it is. So, Om Pitr Devatāya namaha. 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 So here we emphasize Om. O is always two matras. Om, silence. Then Pitra, on the ta, you keep the tongue a little bit longer. Pitra. Then Devatāya. So the A in English is E. A is always long. And then the second A has a long line on top, so it's also long. So it's Devatāya. Devatāya. And namaha. Like our namaha, again and again, namaha, 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 namaha. Rika, oh, I'm so happy to hear that you like it, enjoy. Om pitr devatāya namaha. Om pitr devatāya namaha. Om pitr devatāya namaha. And so as we chant now together, like you can see your elders, your grandparents, even if they've passed away, like call the sacredness in. Ask for their blessing, like ask from the blessing of your ancestors, the elders, for your spiritual journey. Because the thing is, some of your ancestors, grandparents, they're also attached to you. And so sometimes they don't want to let you go. And at times you also got to ask them to let you go. So whatever is there in your life with your ancestors, visualize them, pray to them as you chant this mantra. Om pitr devatāya namaha. 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 And just enjoy the immediate effect of chanting, and the honoring of your lineage, the honoring of your culture. But in that honoring, you also let go. Like you let go of this. First, you identify with it, to neutralize all the judgments around it, to extract the nectar of your culture, the nectar of your lineage. And then, when you have a healthy self-image, you let it go, the identity with your culture, the identity with your skin color, the identity with your religion. All of it is being offered in the knowledge that you are free from death, timeless being. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Om. Thank you everyone for joining. Let me know if you have questions, or this was a very deep class. Unexpected, expected. So it may move you a lot. Be very gentle. Take time to feel your feelings. Like you may have memories coming up, nostalgia, grief, maybe also joy. So yeah, give time for this class to land and nurture your heart. And then, if we wake up tomorrow, see each other for day number 26, same time as usual at 8 p.m. Central European Summer Time, 7 p.m. here in Portugal. And then that's tomorrow, 26. Yes. And then for day 27, inshallah, I will connect with you from Switzerland. Okay. Om, everyone. So good that you're back, Philippa. Erin, we had a day earlier today. Yeah, an hour earlier. So it was announced yesterday. Maybe you missed it. Tomorrow is back to the same time. So nice that you were here, Christine and Patrick. Feeling you. I love you so much. Everyone. Love you all. Thank you for being you.